A reading from the first book of Samuel. The Lord said to Samuel, "Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem, for I have chosen my king from among his sons." As Jesse and his sons came to the sacrifice, Samuel looked at Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed is here before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not judge from his appearance or from his lofty stature, because I have rejected him. Not as man sees does God see, because man sees the appearance, but the Lord looks into the heart." In the same way, Jesse presented 7 sons before Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any one of these." Then Samuel asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" Jesse replied, "There is still the youngest who is tending the sheep." Samuel said to Jesse, "Send for him. We will not begin the sacrificial banquet until he arrives here." Jesse sent and had the young man brought to them. He was ruddy, a youth handsome to behold, and making a splendid appearance. The Lord said, "There, anoint him, for this is the one." Then Samuel, with the horn of the oil in hand, anointed David in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
I'm not a reality TV show watcher. I never really got into the shows. Except perhaps Fear Factor. I always thought that was kind of an adult version of Double Dare. But recently, I have to say that I now do watch some reality TV, as Wesley has gotten me kind of into watching the show called The Voice. His friend is in there performing. And since watching The Voice, I've started to get kind of into all of these reality shows with the talent of the vocal talent. Well, thank you, Wesley. I'm not quite too sure whether to laugh or cry. But anyway, like The Voice, there is another reality TV show out there called X Factor. And thanks to YouTube, I can watch just the vocal performance, which is great. But on the show, there was a man by the name of Travis Pratt. He walks onto the stage to perform before the audience and the judges. And Travis seems very ordinary. He's walking on with a black t-shirt, jeans, athletic build. And I was thinking, I'm probably going to be wowed by some exceptional rhythm and blues or some very prolific rap music. Because of course, I'm kind of looking at this through a stereotype. Travis is athletic, he is a black man, his voice is very smooth while he is talking to the judges. And when the music started, the orchestra came in. And I was a bit piqued by this. I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? But never in a million years did I expect that Travis Pratt was an opera singer. And he wasn't just any opera. This piece was called O Mio Babino Caro. This is an aria. And not only was he singing it perfectly, he was singing it soprano. Never expected that in a million years. What I expected was what I saw on the outside of Travis. I saw as a human saw. And when Samuel anointed David king, the people of Israel were likewise amazed. The other sons seemed the likely choice, obviously. I mean, David was the youngest. Shouldn't the kingship go to the oldest? So what was so special about David? We are told of the Spirit of the Lord that rested with David. Thus is it right for David to be the heir of the throne and the new king of Israel, as God has chosen him for this task. Not for anything external. His youthfulness didn't exempt him from God's eyes. I can just imagine David tending to a sheep as he looks on and he sees Samuel coming down. And he thinks, well, Samuel is here to anoint a new king for my brothers. So he goes about his work. But somebody comes up to David and says, Jesse wishes to speak to you. And David walks over and arrives, and Samuel in a booming voice goes, "There!" To which David probably went, Well, me? But isn't this a bit familiar? Isn't this the beginning of our vocational call? When I felt a call to the religious life, I remember doing the same thing. Me? If I were to go back to myself in Purdue, and I told myself, you are going to be a priest, I probably would have laughed like Sarah. If the Apostle Peter, if you were to tell him, you're going to be the rock in which Christ builds his church, Peter would have probably stared and then went back to going fishing. Paul, if you told him he was going to be a Catholic, he probably would have had you arrested. So expect the unexpected. Man plans and God laughs. As friars, we are going to be called to work, and probably work that we will not expect. We are called to pray, to preach, and to teach. And where this life will call us admission is in the eyes of God. We are here because the Spirit of God rests in us in a way where we were chosen, like David, to follow God's will for us. If we plan our every move, we may find ourselves disappointed in what will be. We may even think we are not right for the task we are given. In this time of Lent, as we pray and fast, God builds us up anew. We have our goals in mind, but what if we believe we have been shortcoming in our tasks in fulfilling these goals? What if we expected something to happen at the end of Lent and it does not occur because we have tried, or maybe perhaps we thought that we have failed in something during Lent? But Lent calls each of us to an interior disposition, not an exterior disposition. Lent calls us to be built anew through God's grace to us. Let us be attentive to this grace in our prayers and fasting this Lent, so that when the unexpected does happen, we will be as ready as possible.